And good afternoon, and welcome to CTL's Education Professional Development Series. My name is Amy Alcalisi, the EdTech Project Manager here at CTL, and I'm joined by Stephanie Shea, our Marketing Manager, and Walter Germer, our Technical Specialist. If you're not familiar with CTL, we've been headquartered in Portland, Oregon, providing innovative IT solutions to education and government customers for over 26 years. We're Google for Education partner specializing in rugged CTL Chromebooks, laptops, convertibles, 2-in-1s, and tablets designed specifically for K-12 education. Over the last 3 years, we've worked with Google to introduce a line of CTL Chromebooks that have been recommended by PC Magazine as the best choice for Chromebooks in education. As part of our commitment to education, CTL offers free professional development webinars on a variety of topics relevant to K-12 ed tech. Today's webinar is WeVideo Part 3, presented by Atanas Bakalov, Customer Success Manager at WeVideo. We're excited because all of our schools, I think, are using WeVideo. Before we get started, I'd like to review the attendee interface so you know how to participate in today's event. You should see something that looks like this in the upper right-hand corner. You're listening in using your computer speaker system by default, but if you prefer to join on the phone, just select the telephone in the audio pane and the dial information will be displayed. If you guys have any questions today, please enter it in the control panel during the presentation and we'll address them through the question and answer session. Now, Atanas can choose to stop when he wants to see if there's any questions as well. But before I turn it over to Atanas for our presentation, I would just like to remind everyone about some resources for Nevada 21 educators. When you visit the nr21.ctl.net website, you can learn about upcoming professional learning opportunities, sign up for updates about events and information, and you can also join our Google Plus private community. That's where we do most of all of our updates as well. All right, so at this point, I'd now like to introduce Atanas Bakalov. He's the Customer Success Manager at WeVideo. He supports educators seeking to integrate video creation in their lessons and engage students through the power of storytelling. Before joining WeVideo, Atanas spent 7 years in education, a journey which began at Boston Public Schools and extended to the international education consulting for schools and exchange organizations that was in Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Atanas is also an avid filmmaker. He worked on several Hollywood crews and directed 5 short films. I'd love to hear some of those stories, Atanas.
That's great. Thank you so much. And it's great to be with you again. I'm excited about today's presentation because hopefully we'll get a little bit more of that advanced editing going. So let me see if I can share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so let me share the plan of action with you. As I mentioned, we'll focus primarily on advanced editing today. I wanted to extend sort of and broaden expand on the concepts that we touched on last time, but I also wanted to expand a little bit on that idea of WeVideo Ecosystem and show you the mobile app, which I didn't get a chance to do last time. So we're going to use a motivating exercise. We're going to set up our project and we're going to dive deeply into some of the advanced editing features, and that's going to be the majority of the time today. And we'll wrap up by me sharing some additional project ideas and resources with you. Since November, we've added several pretty interesting resources. We've made some changes to the product, so I'll mention them as we go along. And then we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. So the first thing I wanted to share is, again, hitting on that idea of the WeVideo ecosystem. WeVideo is not just a web-based tool. It works on any device across the board, and especially if you have Chromebooks out there. I know that CTL works with Chromebooks. It's great if you would integrate those with any cell phones or other mobile devices that your students might have to really expand on that notion of ecosystem. And to start, I wanted to show you just the mobile app that we have. This is the Android app, but WeVideo is available on iPhones, on iPads, as well as on anything that's Android. So it would be really useful to integrate that into your workflows. And to give you just a couple of examples of what you can do here, the first thing that is really simple and easy to do is to upload media from your device. So using that cell phone or iPad or tablet to capture content, go shoot around the campus. I mean, film, I should have said, videotape around the campus, and then upload your media very simply from the mobile app. And then I recommend doing your advanced editing online because all the advanced features are on wevideo.com. Even having said that, though, there's some basic and pretty intuitive editing workflows that you can access on a mobile device. So you can do edits, and you can see all your videos on your mobile device. And from the plus sign, you can access any project that you're currently working on. I mentioned ecosystem because all the permissions and settings that you set online for your district or school, and that's done by the administrators, are going to trickle down to any device you're using WeVideo on. And by extension, all the projects that you have available here are going to show up on your mobile device. So again, it's an integrated experience, and I wanted to mention it because it's often overlooked, and WeVideo subscriptions generally give you that opportunity to access all the premium features on mobile as well as on the web. So with this, let's set up a project, and let's start digging into some of the more advanced features of WeVideo. And to motivate the conversation today, I created an exercise that you can use in your classrooms. And I called it time travel, just for lack of better words. The basic idea is that you would record whoever is doing the time travel in front of a green screen, and then you would import a lot of interesting backgrounds. You can film those, but you could also import them. For example, you can import the Eiffel Tower, or if you're in a world languages classroom and you're working on a French unit, or you can import places in nature, foreign cities, or even another galaxy, which we're going to be doing today. And we're going to use not only the green screen, but as many advanced features as we can to really transport that hero to a different space and time. And when we're ready, we're going to finish the video. So the first thing we do, we talked about this a lot last time, but I wanted to touch on it again because it's really essential. The first thing we do is to select a project type. And as I mentioned, WeVideo has 3 project types: personal, collaborative, and shared. If you're a teacher, oftentimes you will be working with either collaborative or shared projects because you will want to have all your students in the same environment in one classroom. And the difference here is that in a collaborative project, all the students can see each other's edits and they can access the same timeline and work on it as a team. And in shared, all students are going to work individually, but they're still in one shared space where you can give media to everyone in just a click of a button. You can also see everyone in your within your classroom in the same place, and it's much easier to kind of monitor that project and see what the outcomes are. I've added some titles here of really useful Academy tutorials that you can access on wevideo.com/academy if you want to learn more about projects. But I wanted to now show you briefly how that would work. So again, we're in WeVideo, and this is a teacher view. You notice that you have a groups tab here, so teachers are going to have access to groups which are intended to manage their classes. If you've already set up a group for your classroom, you can initiate a project directly from inside the group. You can click on the Start a Group Project option here on the left. But if you haven't created your group, which happens, by the way, pretty easily from the plus sign, you can simply initiate a project directly from the Projects tab here. And if we click on this button, we are going to be presented with the three options that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to call this a time travel exercise or time travel project. We can use the description here if we want to kind of expand on the prompt and what we're after with this specific assignment. And then we can select one of these three types of projects. For teachers, the personal project is typically reserved for creating a blended learning or a flipped classroom experience. So if you're recording a video on your own and you're doing the editing yourself, you can select the personal project. But if, again, for classroom use, you could either choose collaborative or shared. So let's imagine that we're going to be collaborating. The next thing we do is we're going to select the members of that project. And I wanted to stress again, like I emphasized this last time, but I think it's crucial because it sometimes causes confusion. The project in WeVideo is not the video edit itself. The project is the entire environment you're setting up, and you can have a lot of video creators inside that space. As such, here we are adding members to that collaborative project. And if we already have a group, we can simply select it and we can invite all the members of that group directly, or we can select members one by one through the search function. For example, Mary is my favorite example, and we can select them one by one and add them to this project. Since I already have a group, I'll select this group. The last thing we can do is we can add some media to the project. You don't have to do it here, by the way. This is just a shortcut, but we can always go back to media and add media to the project. So let me select a lot of this media that I have here, and I'm just going to share it with this project. And when I finish, I have my media here, and I'm ready to start editing within this space. And if we go to Mary's, this is the student, Mary. If we go to her projects tab and we refresh, hopefully we'll see the new project that we created in her shared with me section. So here it is, time travel project, and Mary can access the same environment. She can see the same media here, and she can start editing from her view here. And by the way, if you have any questions, please interrupt me. We can pause and take questions as we go along. And of course, at the end, we're going to have room for additional questions. So we may want to import additional media, and I also wanted to emphasize this workflow again. And the reason I'm mentioning it again is because we just introduced a new feature surrounding media. We call it Jumpstart or Quick Start Editing, and it allows you to immediately start editing video with any media that you have on your device while the media is uploading in the background. So all the media is either private or shared. Private means that it's your personal stuff. Shared means that it belongs to is visible to either everyone in the entire organization, or is just shared to a project in very much the same way I just demonstrated. So basically, it's only visible to the members of that project that you just created. And to show you the new feature, notice how if we go to number one, we used to have an upload button here. We no longer have it because now we call this importing. And if we go to the plus sign, I can import media either from here in the media tab, or if I go to the project, let me see, to the new project that I created, and if I start an edit, I can now import media directly from the edit. And again, the big difference between what it used to be and what we just released is that you can now access media and import it, and it's going to become immediately available to you. You can start editing while it's uploading to the cloud. So there's zero lag, zero wait time. You can simply start editing as soon as you point WeVideo to that media that's on your computer. It feels very much like a software which you might have downloaded to a computer, which we're really really proud of. All right. And again, I wanted to mention the sharing mechanism. It's important to realize that there are multiple ways to share media. One way is this global shared media repository, and the more granular way is the project media. So now we're in this time travel project, and we just shared some media with everyone who's a member, and we can see this media under project media here. So a couple of things as we transition to advanced editing. The first thing is I wanted to make sure that we understand that timeline mode is the mode where you can access the most features, and you can, the emphasis here is on the timing or the length of the clips, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to focus on that because you have multiple tracks or layers. There are also a lot of advanced features in timeline mode, including green screen, slow and fast motion, screencasting, etc. You also have controls over volume, opacity, and you have flexibility around the different choices that you make. You can turn on or off certain portions of your themes, or you can do away with themes completely. This is not the case in storyboard mode, which is the more basic mode that we have. And when you think of storyboard mode is similar to what you experience on a mobile device. And that's why I said in the beginning, use those mobile devices as much as you want. You can build your story there. You can definitely capture your content with a phone or a tablet. But when it comes to doing that green screen advanced editing clip or video, go to your Chromebook and continue editing where you left off on the mobile device. And I'm already in timeline mode. And just to make sure you are familiar with the menu here, you can always switch back and forth. In storyboard mode is our basic mode, and timeline mode is the advanced mode. If you want to add additional video or audio tracks, you can click on the plus sign and add either a video or audio track, etc. So I'm going to transition this to full screen view to get some more real estate here, and then we're good to go. The second thing I touched on last time, and I still believe it's worth iterating, is that you have video tracks one on top of one another, and the key idea here is that they're like layers or sheets of paper, so you can superimpose the bottom track and the top track, and anything that you put on top is going to supersede or cover up what's underneath. Once you understand this basic concept, you're really an advanced editor because you can get as creative as you want. I just have a title slide here. I haven't added any content, but just to illustrate the point that I made, we have one image on our bottom track, and if we put another image on top, notice how that top image is going to supersede or override the bottom image. So in order to reveal the bottom image, you need to do something, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in the next few minutes. And then a couple of quick editing tips. Keep your shots short unless there's action in them. That is a tendency for anyone who's just starting to edit is to keep the clip on the screen for a long time. The audience doesn't have as much patience probably, so it's important to keep them down to 1 or 2 seconds or even less in some cases. you're basically conveying information and then you want to move on to keep the pace going. You can use close-ups for emphasis. Pay attention to continuity as well. So from one clip to another, it's important to kind of transition seamlessly. So if in one clip you're on a master shot and somebody lifts their hand, and if you want to move to a close-up, make sure that that hand motion is continuous between the two shots. This kind of creates the illusion that everything is flowing and it's not disruptive. And then another last piece of advice is to let your actors, quote unquote, exit the frame completely if you want to place them in a new scene or in a completely different environment. This breather, it's typically a fraction of a second after they exit the frame, allows the audience to adjust to the idea that there will be a discontinuity of time and place. Okay, and now we're going to jump into some of the WeVideo advanced features. The first one I wanted to show you is the transform feature. It allows you to achieve something like this, which is Brady's bunch effect. You can put multiple individuals, multiple videos in a single frame. And in theory, they could even be kind of talking to one another. It's you're taking a top layer, and then you're putting it. Basically, the top layer is going to be on top of the background, and then you can layer multiple shots on top of one another in different positions, and then you're going to achieve a picture-in-picture or video-in-video effect. To show you what this looks like, and we already started here with an image on top of our background, I'm just going to double click to access some of those features, and I'm going to go to my transform feature here, and I'm going to scale it back. So here we go, and we can put it in the top corner. And if we want to do this with multiple images, let's say we want to put another image here. Again, it's going to override what we have underneath, so we need to make it smaller. So we're going to use that transform feature to scale it back, and then we can place it anywhere on the screen that we want, just like that. And if we layer enough images or photos or videos, we're achieving that Brady's bunch effect that I mentioned. The most powerful aspect of this transform effect is definitely the scale, in my opinion. You can also fit an image to scale so it fills the screen. You can flip an image and you can rotate it 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, or go back to 360 degrees. So very useful feature. It's very heavily used. I recommend becoming familiar with it. And again, keep in mind that we have a bottom layer here, and we're adding layer on top of one another here to achieve this layering effect. I'm going to delete this. The next feature I wanted to show you is the animate feature. You can use it with photos to get a Ken Burns effect, which allows you to zoom in or zoom out on a specific part of the photo, or just get that gentle animation from left to right or top to bottom that gives you some dynamics in the photo. But you can also use it in a video as well. And let's see. So if we want to zoom into this galaxy, we'll double click on this clip, and we're going to go to our second feature here, which is our animate. We're going to have a starting point and an ending point. The starting point is where the clip is going to begin, and end is where we want it to end before it transitions to another clip. So if we want to scale it up, this is going to be our final motion right here. So now if we play it, we animated it. Notice how it goes towards the final position that I gave it. And this motion is pretty rapid, and this is a photo, but you can totally do this with a video. For example, if I let me see if I can find a good video here. If I've recorded myself on the screen, I will again override on the bottom track. I can simply start from a full screen mode for that top track, and when I'm animating, I can put myself in the corner. So we're revealing what's in the background. So this is my ending position, and my starting position starts in full screen. Let's see what we get. Notice how this video, and it's a video, is actually moving to the corner. Do we have any questions at this time?
Yes, we do. The question is, I see the default has 3 video timelines. How would you add that third overlay?
That's a great question. So you would go to the plus sign to add an unlimited number of video tracks or audio tracks. If we wanted to add another one, we would click on the plus sign and add another track. It could be a video or audio track here. And we can always rename them. So typically, if you're working on a multi-track edit, you may want to use naming conventions to help yourself with remembering which track is used for what. This could be very useful for students too. So for example, if I'm adding another track and I want to use it for green screen, I can reserve it for that and just give it a different name. Same thing here, if I click on the video track, I can rename it and put it as my main track or my background track, etc.
Can you move them up and down, like green screen down?
You can't at this time. You can't at this time. But yeah, that's a great question. And I would just rename the bottom track as green screen and then leave the top track for something else. What you can do, let's say you want to move this content to a different track. You can multi-select the entire content on this track and simply shift it over to a new track. So you can move the content, but you can't really flip the naming of the tracks.
Great. That answers the question they had.
Awesome. Okay. So the next effect I wanted to show you is motion speed control. And that's great for science projects or for adding emphasis to any digital storytelling project that you have. I wonder if I can play this for you because I find it to be a really cool video. So let me see if we can play the video. So here the idea is that you're recording a scientific experiment, and then you're slowing it down up to 10 times in order to reveal the underlying phenomena. So this is the initial experiment. It looks pretty basic. But notice how when you slow it down, you're actually observing the waveform and you can analyze and discuss what phenomena happened here. This is great for science project, for anything that you need to really record and then analyze and understand better. The way you access this motion effect is, again, by double-clicking on one of the clips. So let me find a suitable video here. Let's see. And I don't have a tsunami video, but this is a video of a road. You're traveling along a road. We could actually use it for green screen too. let's say we want to speed it up to achieve this kind of hectic effect, for example, that we're moving extremely fast. I can double click on this road, and I'm not sure why it flipped, so I'm gonna go back to here. And what I'll do is I'll go to my speed motion control effect here. And I can speed up this video up to 10 times, or I can slow it down up to 10 times, depending on what effect I want to achieve. So currently I want to speed it up. And let me see. I'm not sure why it switches to upside down. But now if I play it, I have this much faster motion here. And this can be used for many, many different things, but I wanted to illustrate the effect more so than the than the actual image here. And the last one is actually the next one is screencasting. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the idea. You're recording your screen, and then you can use this screencast as part of a presentation or a demo that you're doing, or any explainer video that maybe your students want to do. And the screencast is accessible right here. I can open this record button in my media section, and then I can either record my screen or I can record my webcam. And when I click on the screen recording option, one thing I can do is I can select to use my microphone, so I can narrate over the as I'm recording the screen, or I can mute my microphone, so I can just use the screencast and then do my audio recording separately to perfect it and make sure that it sounds right. Again, I can turn it on or off, and then I can choose a different microphone. I can also record just a section of the screen or the entire screen. So this is not probably as fancy as some other dedicated screencasting software that you have, but it's really robust and it does the job. I mean, you can really do a lot, both in terms of flipped classroom opportunities, in terms of presentations and trainings for other teachers, as well as to make to help students kind of narrate a presentation, for example, in real time. And the last feature I wanted to show you is the chroma key, or the green screen. This is super popular in classrooms. You can do literally anything. You need to record the top layer, and you need to record your actor in front of a green screen, and then you're keying out or removing that green in order to reveal what's underneath the that top layer. You can use it for foreign languages, history projects, math and science, blended learning. Newscast is very popular. You name it. Basically, green screen is extremely versatile and gives you tremendous opportunities to have fun and do something great. Just to give you an example of what a really creative teacher did, she did a flipped classroom lesson, and she basically added multiple tracks here, and also added her characters and actors through green screen. So you'll see in the next video here, all these teachers are using green screen to achieve this kind of science fiction or spacecraft effect. And it's a lot of fun for kids to use that green screen. So I wanted to show you how this works. So we added the road here, and we need our green screen. We need the green screen recording, obviously, and we're going to put that green screen on a top track. We call this fourth layer our green screen. So technically, if we want, we can put that green screen on this layer. It doesn't really matter so long as it's on top of the bottom one. And here we're going to go to our green screen, select our green, color it out, and then we have our recording here. Here we go. And if there's nothing underneath, notice how it's just a black background because there are really no bottom layers here. Any questions about the green screen before we move on to that, to kind of try to unite all these concepts and build something out of this?
We're good on the green screen. There was some other questions, but I think we'll leave it till the end.
I think I turned off my audio. Sorry. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Did you say, were there any questions?
Go ahead. We'll save a couple to the end, I think. There wasn't talking about green screen at this time.
Okay. Sounds good. Great. All right. So what I wanted to do, oh, and there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. It's not strictly an effect, but you can use keyframes to automate your audio and video clips. You have full control over the volume at any point in time on this audio track, and you have control over the opacity of any video. So let's say, for example, and there are some quick automations here. If I clicked on this this option, fade in and out, I can immediately apply a quick automation to fade this clip in and then have a fade out at the end. Obviously, it's not necessary to use this quick trick. What you can do is simply on any, and I'm going to add some music here to show you this too. If I have music or if I have a video, I can show, where is it? I can show levels or hide levels from here. If I want to show levels, I have this blue line, which is my volume at any point in time on this track. And if I click on this particular point, I'm adding a keyframe or automation. This allows me to drag and adjust the volume at any point in time. So now I'm getting a volume ramp, and it's going to start from 0, which is muted, and it's going to go to 100% volume within the first second and a half. If I want to lower the volume, for example, to have a speaker narrate something important, I can simply add automations like this, and I can lower it to 2/3, for example, and then when this speaker is ready and is not narrating anymore, I can go back to full volume later. Same thing with opacity. So on the video layer, if you show the levels, you have opacity. So if I want to fade in, I'm going from 0% visible, so 100%, 0% opacity to 100%. And you can make this smoother, for example, so it's going to gradually appear. And you can do the same thing at any point in time. If you want to hide this suddenly from view, you can simply do it with sharp automation here. So this is very useful, and it's really useful to know as an effect, because you can achieve a lot of cool effects here. So let's revisit our time travel exercise and see if we can put some of these things to practice. So we're building our project. We're going to give it a title probably first. I'm going to delete the music for now. And I'm going to keep this road here. Actually, I'm going to delete most of these things to give myself some space. So the first thing is we have a title. You have a lot of text options here, but if I click on the edit, I can edit my title. Or actually, I can select a different title graphic from this menu. So this is my text title. I have subtitles, lower thirds, theme text, and annotations. So a lot of text graphics. I'm going to get a simple text, and I'm going to put it right here on my background layer. I'm just going to make it shorter. If I double click, again, I access my options. You can animate your text too. Remember that animation feature that we discussed? What we can do is we can have the text appear, or it can zoom in or zoom out if we animate it. So let's change our font. Let's say this is our time travel. We can change the color. We can really play with this, the font type and the font size. And we can say if we want to auto adjust the text box, and then let's say we can animate it. So we're going to start at a smaller text here level, and we're going to end in full frame. There we go. So now we have our title graphic. We applied animation. We can even build up on that. We can show our levels, and we can fade out and have a little fade in here so it's not abrupt. And then we can start to build our story. One additional thing that's really cool is you have a lot of assets that are not strictly video content, but can be really useful when you're building videos. So for example, some of those backgrounds and overlays that WeVideo provides. We are traveling to space, so this one looks pretty cool to me. Oops, I think I didn't. Oh, I forgot that I have this clip here, so I'm going to move it to another layer. There we go. And I'm going to cut this to make it a little shorter. You can cut with S or with these scissors. So if I click on S, I split this clip in two, and I can delete that second part. So now I have a cool background. What I can do now is I can have my speaker appear in the background. And I'm going to go to my media, and I'm going to get my time traveler. Oops. I think, again, this is in my way, so I'm just going to delete it for now. I'm going to grab my time traveler, and I'm going to put her in front of that background. So again, green screen, double click. We don't want to have animation, so make sure we don't. And then I'm going to key out that green, and now I have the traveler here. We can apply some quick animation here too, so we can have her appear on our screen. And we're using the opacity feature again. And I can always extend this further. So now we have a pretty cool effect. We talked about picture-in-picture and that transform feature. What if, let's say she's the teacher, we can add more layers on top. So for example, if she's talking about an element in the universe, we can add more media and interpose it with the rest of the layers here. Let me see if I have some cool videos. Let me go to Project Media. So this one is interstellar formaldehyde, and we're putting it on another layer. We can double click on this, and we can scale it so it appears like this. And we can put it in the corner. So now we're adding content here. And again, I want to make it appear smoothly and not just show up all at once. So I added a little bit of an opacity automation here. And I can switch even the backgrounds. I can put the table of elements behind our speaker. So we're building a lecture and we're using green screen and a lot of sophisticated concepts. What if we wanted to, now that we're revealing that table of elements, what if we wanted to shrink the speaker to make her a little less obtrusive, so we're revealing most of that content? What I can do is I can select my green screen track and I can split it again to make sure I'm starting where this other track starts, and I'm gonna animate her. So let me actually cut this track at the end. So now we have a solid chunk right on top of our table of elements, and we can double click on this clip. It already has green screen in place, but we want to have animation. So we're gonna start here, and we want to end here. So notice how we're now animating this green screen layer, and we're really achieving a pretty interesting effect. Revealing the table of elements, and she's talking about that. We can add a little bit more opacity automation at the end, so we can make this green screen layer disappear, and then we can transition to another narrative later. So, for example, we want to go to space, so we're now going to transition to a galaxy, and we can build more more content from here. I hope you get the point. I mean, once you start using these elements and playing with all these concepts, you can achieve some pretty substantial and exciting narratives, or pretty exciting stories and lessons that you can create with WeVideo. I want to pause again for questions about all the stuff that I showed you.
Yes, there was one question, is if you have a video and you wanted to crop it, you didn't want to have the whole thing. Is there a way to do that? One question had.
Okay, great question. Unfortunately, there isn't a crop feature per se. Let me see if we can, again, access this content here. You can scale it, make it bigger. So let me see. So for example, this galaxy here, or this, yeah, it's a galaxy. If I double click, I can select parts of it by zooming in and then adjusting the frame this way.
Perfect.
There isn't a way to crop specifically and kind of cut out only a piece of that video.
The other question they had is like, say her face was a little light there. Instead of retaking the video, is there a way to darken up her face there with some sort of changing the brightness or the contrast?
Perfect. So if I double click on this, here is our color correction. You can definitely change the brightness or contrast. And notice how we're only affecting that top green screen layer. We're not affecting our background. We're only affecting the clip that we clicked on. It's not, you can't really create a mask per se. Like with very, very advanced editing tools, you may just create a mask and just lighten maybe a portion of her face, or if this is too bright here, for example, I can kind of make it a little less conspicuous. Here you're really brightening the entire image, but these are certainly options that you have: brightness, contrast, saturation, etc.
No, that's perfect. That was exactly what they were looking for. I think the only other question was, is there any tricks to making sure your timing is right between, say, two different pictures?
The, the best recommendation I have, so in terms of frame accuracy,
Hmm.
WeVideo is frame accurate down to 2 frames. So it's not perfectly frame accurate because it's in the cloud, but it's, I would say, 2 frames is about 120, 1/12 of a second, which is very, very negligible. But still, if you want to be more precise, what I recommend is using this zoom in and zoom out option to get more specific. So for example, if I want to just adjust 1 frame, I can do it easily if I'm zoomed in, but if I'm zoomed out, I'm probably, if I do the same motion, I'm cutting 8 frames instead of 1. So make sure
Per
you're zoomed in all the way on the cut that you want to affect.
Perfect. That answers it all. Thanks so much. I think that does it for our questions.
Excellent. And I have a couple more things that I wanted to mention. So I'm going to exit full screen. Uh, there are a lot of project ideas that you can come up with, but here's just a quick list of some options. Again, the WeVideo can be used in any subject. It doesn't matter if it's science or math or English. So long as the teacher is creative, you can really make full use of this tool, both for e-learning, sort of blended learning, as well as for actual instruction, having your students create narratives and explain things. To that end, in terms of project ideas, since our last conversation, we've added a teacher resource center. So if you go to the question mark, here, you're going to see a teacher resource center. If I click on get inspired, I'll get a lot of content that wasn't available just a couple months ago. I have lesson plans, I have tutorials, and I have videos. And the important thing here is that they are user sourced. So this is, for example, a teacher who used very similar techniques to what I just showed you to create a pretty sophisticated lesson with green screen. And if I clicked on this video, I have some explanations and content here. If I go to lesson plans, I also have some lesson plans that I can download and use. So I encourage teachers to really explore this resource center, and if they have content that they want to contribute, we'd love to add your stuff to this webpage. And I think that wraps everything for today. If there are any additional questions or if there's anything else that I can help with, please let me know.
Atanas, that was great. Thank you so much. I love these new features that you guys have added, especially that resource.
Yeah, yeah, it's we're really excited about it. We want to make sure that this is useful for educators, and we're kind of taking away that fear factor that sometimes is there when you're completely new to video creation.
Yeah.
As you saw on my screen, I mean, it's dragging and dropping things and just rearranging is not very time consuming, so long as we were kind of familiar with the interface.
Yeah, I'm definitely a novice at that. When Walter did ask about the cropping, you can take like if you're doing a video from photos, can't you crop your photo first and then you import it to make a video?
Yes, I would crop it in my phone, for example, or some
Right.
other device, and then I would import it. Or again, I mean, if I want to only focus on a portion of that photo,
Mhm.
um, I can simply select that and zoom in on it to kind of make it fit that 16 by 9 frame that I have here.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up if I don't have any more questions. I don't see any more. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. If there's any other questions, Feel free to contact myself. The email and information is on the screen, or Atanas. And everyone will receive a survey at the end of the presentation. And if you guys fill that out, you will get a certificate of completion as well. And we like to hear your feedback. And it is important to fill out because it relates to the Nevada 21 project that this is all about. And it can help us improve our webinars for the future cohorts. So please don't forget to visit our website at nr21.ctl.net website for more news and information. And you can also go to our website and click on professional development and see part 1 and part 2. The webinars are recorded, so you can watch them as many times as you like. And you can just fast forward through my intros and endings. All right, well, I'm going to put this at a closing. And I appreciate all of your guys' time today to go through this with Atanas. And Stephanie will give you guys a recording within 24 to 48 hours of this webinar. And thank you again for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.